Hello, parents, and welcome to today's masterclass. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you all doing today? Good afternoon. Come in, say hello to me. Say hello to me. I'm pulling up the comments now. So say good afternoon to me. Let me know who's here. Let me know who's here this afternoon. Let me know. Let me know. And as you're coming in, if this is your very first time, welcome. Welcome to the Student Success School. My name is Portia Williams, also known as the Student Success Coach. And what I do is I help grades K through 5 parents confidently speak up on their child's behalf without being seen as the angry parent. That's a little bit about what I do, and I help those parents help their child confidently speak up. I help those parents build academic success. And so my mission is to help grades K through 5 parents confidently speak up on their child's behalf without being seen as the angry parent, so that they can help their child achieve academic success. All right, and so welcome for those of you who might be new. We do have a new member that I want to take time and welcome. That is Miss Regina. I want to say her last name correctly. Makar. Pray I said that correctly. So it's Regina Macaro. I pray I said that correctly. And so again, Regina, we welcome you. As you come in, please feel free, let us know where you're from. Let us know where you're from. Let us know how you found us here at the school, at the Student Success School. And let me know what is your biggest challenge with helping your child achieve academic success. I am a coach. This is what I do. I am here to help you. I promise. If I can, I will. And if your child is experiencing some struggles academically, if they aren't doing their best academically, you're at the right place at the right time. I promise you. I don't think I know anybody else better that can help you. And so please share with me what it is that's going on with your child academically. The reason I don't know anybody else better is because I was a student who struggled. Oh my God, I struggled for many years academically. And so I'm grateful, right, that even though I did struggle, I was able to turn my academic success all the way around. And so I did that, and I am more than willing to help you and show you what I did, what I had to learn, what I experienced in order to achieve academic success, so that you can actually help your child. And I'm sure if you apply the tools that I'll be teaching you, not only here today, right, but over the master classes we have, right, or even if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, which I encourage you that you do, I'm sure that your child will achieve academic success if you follow the steps that I teach you. And so please come in, let me know who you are, exactly what's going on with your child academically, and let me know how it is that I can help you. I would be honored to. All right. And that doesn't just go for Regina. Okay. That doesn't go just for Regina. All of you who are here, who are grades K through 5 parents, you have that same opportunity to get the one-on-one help that you need to help your child achieve as well. Like, it's not just for Regina, okay? So you had that same opportunity. If you have not worked with me one-on-one with your child, you need to, okay? You need to, especially if they're experiencing still academic challenges, okay? And so you all have that opportunity, just like Regina, you all have an opportunity to work with me one-on-one, and I'll share more with how you could do that later on after this masterclass. But let's get into why we're here today. All right, I don't know if you all got to see yet, Today's masterclass is entitled Why I Thought Other Kids in My Class Were Smarter Than Me. Oh, we're going to get into that today. And I have my notes here because I really want to make sure that I share with you all why I thought that way. Why I thought that way. So I have my notes here. And so if you see me checking for them, I'm just making sure that I explain to you totally why I felt that way, like why I thought that, okay? And so let's get into it already because I'm already late. And so, and forgive me. And so let's look at the first piece. I thought, right, that for those of you who didn't see the reminder for Masterclass, I really thought that other kids in my class were smarter than me. I thought that for a while as well, especially in grades when I was in, elementary school. In middle school, I experienced that some as well. I think in middle school, I almost just kind of like gave up, so to speak. In that area academically, I just was like, whatever. But in elementary school, and I'm sure it started in elementary school, it did because that mindset happened in elementary school, but it was literally years in middle school. I had been carrying that thought of other kids being smarter than me thinking that for so long that I just almost gave up in middle school. I would say I just truly settled there. Like, this is just what it is. And the reason that I really thought other kids were smarter than me was because of a lot of things that I saw. It was a lot of things that I saw with other kids in my class, right? And one of the things that really was a big thing, right, for me was that I noticed a lot of the kids in my class would always get the answers right, when the teachers called on them. And so that was one of the things for me that I just didn't even raise my hand. I got to a point where I wasn't even raising my hand in class because I knew that I probably wasn't going to get the answer right. And so one of the things that really showed me that I didn't have what it takes, right, to really be successful academically was when I watched other kids always get the answers right. I'm like, how does their brain just like get it? They just get it. And I didn't at that time. I just was not getting it, which is kind of total opposite from now because I'm like so much the one that gets it. And I say that humbly, but my beginning wasn't like that. And so I know what it's like to just not get it, right? Just not get it. I felt like the other kids were just something they could just pop up the answers and they didn't really have to like take notes. And especially like in math, if you give that like an example, they didn't have to like use a scrap sheet of paper. Like their brain was like that. And they were able to get the answer. And so that was like a big sign, for me that I just didn't have what it takes and the other kids were really, really smarter than me. That was a really, really, really big thing. And that was a big thing for a very long time. And so one of the other things that was a sign for me at the time that other kids were smarter than me was when they got their tests and their quizzes back. When they got their tests and their quizzes back, they were always so much better than me. And so I noticed, back then we did like a lot of paperwork, more handouts and stuff like that. And when the teachers would give the work back, often all the other kids get to see the other kids' papers and like what they got, their answers. Well, mine would not be. Oh God, it would be so just bad. And so watching other kids get their grades back and they got like A's and A plus, right? And if a student has like an A minus, they're like, I got an A minus, and they're sad. And I'm looking over at them like, I failed the whole test. Like, why are you tripping? I failed the whole test. I got like a 57, And so that was a big thing for me at that time where I was literally thinking that I didn't have what it took the other kids were smarter because their test scores were better than me. Like, doesn't that make sense? Like, doesn't that add up? It shows that they just are better. At the time, that was my thought. You know, they're better. They have better grades. They have A's, and I have E's. You do the math, right? And so that was a big challenge for me. One of the other things was that the other kids read so much better than me. They read faster than me. And one of the things I think I dreaded the most in elementary school was reading in front of other people. Now I don't dread it as much, right? I'm grown, I'm an adult, and if I take my time, I take my time. But when I was a child and I was like a student and really learning, especially in grades K through 5, oh my God, I dread, I dread, I dread. When I say dread, can you hear me? Everybody that's on, tell me if you can hear me say dread. Just type dread in the chat because I dread. I dread. Is dreaded a word? As an educator, I'm just gonna make it up. I dread it. It's not, but I think I'm gonna make it up. I dreaded. I'm gonna Google it. I dreaded the fact that I'm saying this because this is how much I dread reading out loud in front of people. Like, I just did it at that time, and in the classroom, the students were so much better, right, readers. Like, I would take so long. Oh my God, I would take so long to read. The teacher would call me and be like, "Okay, well, Portia, like, read," and I would hear like kids suck their teeth because I was finna read. I would hear kids like or when I would read. And one of the things I hate, even to this day, I shouldn't say hate, but I really really dislike when people are reading and other people try to sound out their words for them, or like, let's say somebody miss a word and somebody corrects them. The reason I don't like that is because it happened to me so much in class that when I would read, right, if I was having a trouble sounding out the word, the kids in class would like say it for me, or and it would make me feel, and then it would always happen, right? So they would say it for me, and then I'll go like two more words, and then I need more help, and they'll do it for me, and then the teacher's like, let her try, let her try, let her sound it out, and they're still calling out the word, and I just want to be like, forget you, and you. Why you ask me to read? Because you know it's gonna take me some time. And so that was one of the things that really bothered me and made me feel like other kids were smarter because they read faster, they read better, they read, they were just better readers than me. And I'm just like, they're just good, they're smarter. Like, if you can read, you're smart, right? And so I thought that, and then one of the other things for me too was that the kids were always finished their work before me, before I was done. And so let's say we were going to lunch, right? Or we were going to recess. And let's say you had to finish all of your work, right? Or you were supposed to finish all your work before we move on or before we get in line or whatever. Well, the kids would be done, right, way before me. And I would just literally be getting started almost. And so many of the kids in my class were like already done with their work, with their classwork. And so when they're done, they're talking. There might be start playing, and it would create like a lot of anxiousness for me because I know they're done, and so it's like now I have to hurry up and get the work done because they're finished. And so I would rush, or I would just put whatever I wanted to hurry up and get done. And then it goes back to that second point that I made, right? When my test or my quiz or my homework came back, it was always raggedy or wrong. And many of that could have contributed to the fact that the kids were getting done faster than me. And I just got tired of sitting there, so I would rush, right? But it showed that to me that they were smarter because they got their work done more faster. And so it was a challenge for me academically. I'm sharing, sharing this to you now, right? As a professional, as a coach, right? But I went through these things. And so over time though, it took a lot of time. What I had to learn the truth, right? And the truth was the other kids in my class that I thought were smarter than me, they weren't. They were not. Okay, they weren't smarter than me. But what the kids in my class did have an advantage of, they had more of an advantage of over me at the time, is that they more than likely knew their learning style, and it showed. So that's really what I was seeing in a much from a much clearer perspective, was that the kids in my class weren't smarter than me. They weren't. It was just that their learning style showed. It was their learning style that I was seeing that was showing. Um, but it wasn't always like just that easy for me to understand. It took me a while to understand that. It took me a very long time um, to understand that and get that perspective, because I really used to think that the kids in my class were smarter than me. Like, and it was something I thought, but it was unspoken. I didn't talk about it, right? Um, it was something I thought, but it was actually unspoken. It was something I thought, but it was unspoken. My parents really didn't know about that. I never told my parents, like, I think the kids in my class are smarter than me. If they said it, my parents probably would have knocked my head off just for thinking that, because my parents didn't play that. Like, they didn't play me doubting myself or verbalizing, I should say. They didn't play it, nonverbal, but me saying that I thought someone was better than me and all of that. Oh, my dad especially wouldn't have had that. He wouldn't have been having that. And so, but the truth was, I really used to think that, the kids in my class were smarter than me. And the reason I told you some of the reasons I thought that, but I thought they just had smarts. Like, that was just their gifting. Like, they're just smart, right? They're just intelligent. They learn better. But I didn't. I thought it was like a section, right, of people that just learn better. They're just better learners. And I didn't have that gene, or I didn't have that trait, or that didn't come in my DNA package, right, of people who just learn better. But the problem with that thinking, and thinking that the other kids in my class were smarter than me, was I wasn't looking at how smart I was. I wasn't. I wasn't looking at my intelligence. I wasn't looking at what I knew. I wasn't looking at what I knew how to do or could do. I wasn't focusing on me and who Portia was as a learner. I wasn't. And unfortunately, I didn't have many educators at that time that can reinforce that. At that time, with my parents not knowing that that's how I felt, they didn't reinforce it because they didn't really know. They didn't have that strategy or know to do. Enough, if they did, for me to make drastic change. And so I was so busy looking at other people that I wasn't looking at my light, and how I shine. And honey, I shine well now. To God be the glory. Because it took me a long time to realize, the light that was in me, especially as a learner. I knew I was social. I knew I had like a personality for people, but it took time for me to realize who I was as a learner, and how to just step away from just being Portia, the social light or the social butterfly, to actually being more than that. That I was actually more than that. Like, that's just not a category, and that's not all who you are. It's part of who you are, and it's great, but that's not all of who you are. And so that was one of the things for me. One of the other problems for me was I wasn't participating in class. And so with me thinking the other kids were smarter than me, I wasn't showing up and participating in class. I told you I couldn't stand for somebody to literally call my name to read. One of my teachers, I didn't like that, right? And so I was more ashamed, especially when I didn't know the answer. So a lot of times I would not try, because who wants to be wrong in front of a classroom of 30 other kids? Me making 31, right? I didn't want to be embarrassed, to be laughed at. And so I didn't say much, especially when it came to like raising my hand to answer. Like if I didn't know the answer, I was not. If I didn't have like almost an inkling, I did not raise my hand, and I was often because I really didn't know a lot of the work. I didn't know how to do it exceptionally well, and so and how do I know that? Because my grades showed for it. And so that was a big thing. I wouldn't really raise my hand, and unfortunately, participation points is a big thing, right? Do you participate? Do you raise your hand in class? Do you answer questions? Like, do you show up? And that's with anything, right, in life. But I struggled there with the participation points because, and it's sad. It's actually kind of interesting because I made it by participation, but I didn't make it with participation getting it right. And so I could get participation points from my teacher for raising my hand, for just trying. But the truth was, I wasn't getting the answers right when I did. So that was a big thing for me too, because I got participation. That's probably only the reason I went from grade to grade and never stayed back or was left back or had to repeat a grade, because I was willing to participate. My mouth was going to run. But if I did not absolutely, when we're talking critical, right, critical thinking about the answer, if I couldn't get it right, I wasn't really going to raise my hand. So I missed out on I got participation for raising my hand, but I might have missed a point because I didn't get it right. And that's so real. And that's whether it's verbal or that's whether it's written. And so, and that was a challenge for me as well. I wasn't participating in class, and that was a big problem. And with me thinking that the other kids were smarter than me, I just let them have it and let them get the points and let them participate without really doing it myself. And so one of the other issues and the biggest problem, I think, out of most, all of those are great, and I love, 1 and 2 probably the most, but I think one of the biggest issues for real is that by me thinking other kids were smarter than me, it left me room where I wasn't learning. It left me room where I was not learning. Um, I wasn't challenging myself to grow, even when other kids did know more than me. I wasn't challenging myself to grow. I wasn't getting the little that I could have got because I was thinking other kids were smarter than me. So I just wasn't even really making progress by the thought of just thinking other people were smarter than me. So I'm going to just sit here. And so I was not able to grow, even on the foundational skills or the fundamental skills that you need for learning. I wasn't able to do that effectively. But things that actually change, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but it had to be said. Uh, it has to be said. It's the truth about, where I was academically. But there was some hope in me, right? There was progress that did happen. And really and honestly, where the progress happened for me was when I learned my learning style. When I learned my learning style, I truly stopped worrying about other kids being smarter than me. When I learned my own learning style, like who Portia was as a learner, and actually used it and operated, in my learning style. And when I did that, academically, I did like a whole 180. It took time, years, literally. I didn't really start to achieve until I got to high school, where it showed and was consistent, right? But when I did finally get it, your girl was making honor roll back to back, back to back, and GPA was fire. But it took time because it wasn't always that way. Because I went from literally like first grade, as early as I can remember, thinking like I just didn't have it. Kids were smarter than me. And so it took some time, but it was my learning style learning my learning style that really helped me. It really, really did. And I'm telling you, when I learned my learning style, I learned who I was as a learner. That was a blessing, learning who I was as a learner. You know, you think about how other kids are so smart and how their brain, I told you how their brain just boom, fires it up and they can, they just can go. But I learned that something about me goes like that too, that other people don't have, you know? And so I don't know if that added more, confidence to me, but there was something about me and my learning style that was good and other people also, looked at, right? And not in a prideful way or anything like that, but there was something about me that made me learn confidently. So when I learned my learning style, that's when it began to show. Um, when another blessing, right, or benefit for me when learning my learning style was that I figured out it was needed. So that goes back to that point. I feel like it was needed in the classroom, right? Um, and I stopped worrying when I realized that I was a beast. Hey, Coach Chelsea, when I was a beast, right? I learned that I was a beast in what I do. I was really, really good, I should say, right? And so that also made me stop worrying. And it was a blessing of learning my learning style because it made me stop worrying for real. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. It made me stop worrying when I figured out, like, you're good, girl. You're good. You're real good. Right? And other people might not have noticed it, but I knew it. And so it really helped. Um, and so one of the other things when I stopped worrying, right? Start worrying about other kids being smarter than me and I truly like stood on my learning style and just kept like using it and literally, it's one of the blessings of knowing your learning style was I was able to encourage other people who they are academically. And so that's one of the blessings now because I literally built a career off of not only just learning my learning style, but then showing other people how to do it as well. And look, I'm talking to you as a parent, talking to you about your child's learning style, right? And so not only did it take it's some trauma that happened, some pain that happened, but I'm now able to build a career, right, off of helping other people and showing other people like you're really great at that. Keep doing that. Okay. And then lastly, but I think most importantly, my grades went up. When I stopped worrying about other people and them being smarter than me and I focused in on my learning style, my grades turned all the way up. My grades went up. I'm telling you. When I finally figured it out, I was bringing home honor roll like all the time. Now, I could have been doing better in other areas. I wasn't perfect, but I was bringing home honor roll. Like my test scores, I still wasn't the best test taker, right? But I was able to bring home honor roll, right? Something I was able to literally use my learning style in such a way, even when I was having a challenge, that it shifted me to still grow and still progress. And I talked about that last week. What was I talking? I talked about homework, right? And one of the things about making homework more challenging, and I'm not going to talk about it all because I want you to go back and watch that masterclass. But one of the things about making homework so much more interesting for your child, right, is that even when it's hard, even when it's a challenge for them, having that learning style will make them still be able to pass, make them still be able to, go above failing. And so the learning style itself just adds that fire to a child, even when they're struggling. They might not get the answers right, but they'll almost get it right. They might get a 70 out of 100. And I think that's way more better. I don't know what your parenting expectations are. I talk about that in my program. For those of you who don't know, I have a 7-week program for parents just like you if your child is struggling. But one of the things that I talk about is I don't know your expectation for your child. Your expectation is your expectation. You birthed them, God gave them to you. You have your own. You got the right to have your own expectation for your child. They're yours. Your responsibility. Who am I to say what your expectation should be? But one of the things that I do know is that it's wiser for a child to go from making a 50% in their grades to a 70% than consistently being at a 50%, right? And the way that I learned that it worked was that learning style. That learning style pushed me to that 70%, making me much more wiser and learning. Might not be at 100, but I'm at that 70. And so if I can get to that 70, I can begin to get at mastery to make 100%. My grades continue to go up, right? And so that's just the nugget. I pray it makes sense. If it doesn't, sign up for a session with me and we can talk more about it, because that would be great for me to know what's going on with your child one-on-one, more so than like generally speaking. And I want to say that for those of you who are on, right, are going to catch this replay, this is like an overall class. This is an overall master class, right? So it's not, how can I say it? Everything that I say might not be exactly a one size fit all for your baby. But I promise you it can work, right? If you begin to start working the tools. But just like this masterclass, it can work for your child's learning style. And that's why it's important for us to talk one-on-one, so that way I can really help you and kind of give you a one size for your baby, right? Tailor it to your baby. And I say baby because I know they're your babies. Tailor it to your child, right? But the masterclass, I can't do it because I'm speaking to all of you, all 200 and I don't know how many, 70 of you, 70 plus of you. And so there's no way that I can speak to each and every one of you, but I can give you like a overall, right, of this kind of perspective, especially if your child is struggling financially. The child shouldn't be struggling academically, okay? And so, yeah. But I'm telling you all, like, my experience was real. I really thought the kids were smarter than me. And unfortunately, I didn't talk to my parents about it. I didn't, right? I thought other kids were smarter than me. I never really talked to my parents about this, right? So some of you might not even know that your child feels like this. That you might not even know. You might now have an idea, which is the prayer, that you have an idea now, right? Because I've talked to you about my experience. So you might have an idea, right, of your child could be struggling. But your child, if they are feeling like this, can definitely do a 180 academically. And I can tell you that because I did. I've shared some of that with you, but I told you I didn't experience the success until I got to like the 10th grade. I told you that. I didn't experience the 180 of achieving academically, going from failing year after year, not making honor roll, to literally making honor roll until about the 10th grade. But I'm telling you, when the switch happened. I literally took AP English 2 years in high school. That was 11th and 12th grade year. I had AP English. I took AP social studies or history, AP history. I was taking a psychology class in high school. So I changed tremendously, but it came from learning my learning style. Because one of the things that I noticed, right, about English and history, right, and psychology, they all are really what I love. Who I am, talking, encouraging, thinking, and pulling out, encouraging others. History, right? That's the thinking and knowing and learning. And then the psychology, of course, thinking and encouraging. And then the English, of course, writing, expressing yourself, encouraging. That all came from literally like getting down packing my learning style. It's literally a replica of my learning style. And so I was able to really take classes that would allow me to just operate in my learning style. And I'll say this for you all with elementary school students, and I'm not going to give you too much because I talk about this in the program, but in elementary school, you can see that too. When you have kids who like history more, or they like English more, or they like math more, or if they can't go to science class, they'll come home and they'll be hot as fish grease because they didn't have science today, or their science teacher didn't come. So really, as parents, you got to start listening, right, to your kids when they're talking, right? Because you might right then find out what their learning styles are. and how you can help them use that to increase their grades. But it wasn't all that easy for me when at first I truly thought that kids were smarter than me. I just didn't have what it takes. Um, I wasn't looking at how smart I was, focusing in on them and what they had going on. I wasn't participating in class, and I wasn't learning. And so those were the problems with thinking kids were smarter than me. I really wasn't focusing. I wasn't growing. I wasn't participating. But what helped was when I really stopped where I was able to stop worrying about other kids and focusing on what they had going on when I learned my learning style, and that was the blessing for me. And so, parents, if your child sounds anything like me, if you have found that your child is thinking that the other kids in their class are smarter than them or better than them, right? You definitely want to learn your child's learning style and then teach them that. That's wise. That's wise. And that's one of the ways that you can help your child achieve academic success. And it's one of the easiest ways to do that. I'm telling you, it's one of the easiest ways. I'm telling you that from personal experience. I'm telling you that as a professional who's worked in education. This was my 12th, 2022. So with 12 years of experience working in and around education, right? And also from my educational learning, right? I have a background in African American studies, psychology, and I'm a certified life coach. And so what I've learned is that this is going to be one of the easiest ways, from every perspective of my background. This is going to be one of the easiest ways. And if you try this, I promise you, you'll see success happen. You'll see success happen for your child. But you got to put in the work. And if you want help, right? You say, okay, coach, all right, but how do I start there? How do I get that done? You have a coach who not only cares, I will help you. Okay? I care. I absolutely care. I care. One, because it was me. I was your child and my parents were you. That's just that on that. I know what it's like. And so you have help. You have someone who's bold and who have experienced this, who's willing to help you, willing to talk about it. Bold meaning I'm willing to talk about it. And then two, being willing to help you dig deep, and really help your child achieve academic success, because they need to be successful academically. They do. And I know it's your parent expectation for them to be successful. And so please, if you need help, I will drop the link in the comment section below. Don't hesitate. I have one session available this week that I'm willing to talk to parents. One parent, right, who's ready. I only have one session available. If I have to make time for another, I can see what I could do. But right now, I only have one session available, and that would be tonight at 8. And so, when it comes to your child's academic success, move around what you have to move around to make sure that they're being successful. If it hasn't been working up to this point, take advantage of this opportunity to get on the phone and talk to me so I can see what's going on with your child first. Let me see what's causing them not to be successful. What are you doing, right, that needs more work, right? And then most importantly, what do you see for your baby? Like, what do you want them to be? We can take care of all of that tonight. And so I can really see, can I help you get your child from where they are right now to where they want to be, all right? Don't miss out on that opportunity. Don't play around with your child's academic success. It is not okay. Literally, their success is your success. Literally, to me, I've realized that your child's report card is very similar to your paycheck that you're going to get every 2 weeks, every month, every week. However you get paid, that your child's report card is the same thing. From kindergarten to 12th grade, even if they go to college or not, that is their paycheck. And so you want your baby to be bringing home big bucks. And so please, please, please take advantage of that. All right. And so that's it. That's today's masterclass. If you need me, click the link in the comment section below. Sign up for a free session with me. We can talk during a speak up session. Let's just talk and see where your child is and then what we can do to get them to achieve academic success. I cannot wait to talk to you soon. And until we chat, have a great week. And if you need me, please reach out to me. Okay? Bye.